What's up, everybody? So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the all-new 2019 Chevrolet Camaro. Huge thank you to Randy Marion Chevrolet. They're providing this car for today's video. I'll have the link to their website down in the description below. They're getting all the 2019s in stock and ready to go. So let's check out the new Camaro. And the model that we're looking at today is a 1LT coupe with the RS package. Is finished off in Summit White and has an MSRP of $32,000. Coming standard for 2019 is a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. The vehicle we're looking at today, however, does have the optional 3.6-liter V6. This engine produces 335 horsepower and 284 pound-feet of torque. The engine is either paired to a 6-speed manual transmission or the optional 8-speed automatic. For 0 to 60 times, the automatic comes in at 5.1 seconds, while the manual will be at 5.2 seconds. The power, of course, is sent to the rear wheels, and the model that we're looking at today does feature the 8-speed automatic. Part of the options on this car are a set of 20-inch wheels in all 4 corners, finished off in a metallic gray, and it also features ventilated disc brakes in all 4 corners as well. The overall wheelbase is 110.7 inches, the overall length is 188.3 inches, the overall width is 74.7, and then the overall height is 53.1 inches. And equipped with the 4-cylinder or the V6 engine, the curb weight is around 3,300 pounds. If you opt for the V8, the overall curb weight is 3,600 pounds. And then running off a 19-gallon fuel tank, you can expect to get 19 miles per gallon in the city and 29 on the highway. So that about wraps up talking about some of the specs with the new Camaro. It's really cool that you can get 3 different engine options. All the engines do have the 6-speed manual as an option, and then with the V8 you can also get a 10-speed automatic. The updated front end features HID headlights with an LED daytime running light all throughout. You get an aggressive upper grille with large mesh in it, blacked out Chevrolet logo and your RS badge. And then coming down low, we have a similarly large lower grille, a sporty looking aluminum trim piece, and then that leads over to a side vent in the side of the bumper. And then finishing up the front end, it definitely looks really aggressive, has some nice lines to it, some sharp points to it as well. And I think has a nice futuristic design for the new Chevy models. And then as we make our way up to the hood, we have similarly sharp lines on it, a nice centerpiece leading down to the center of the bumper. Fits together very nicely. And then coming to the side quarter panel, we have the Camaro badge on the side. Has a great contrast with these metallic wheels. And then the side profile is pretty similar to the previous generations. We have a few nice lines on the side, body color door handles and door mirrors. We have a nice line on the lower portion of the door, which kind of mimics a similar type of line you get on the rear fender arches, and that all leads to the rear end. The new LED taillights have a great look to it. They're very 3-dimensional. You can physically grab the shapes of it. You can see how this goes in like 2 inches. This piece sticks out, so it has a really cool look to it. I think this is a great update from the previous generation taillights. And then finishing up, we have the rear mounted spoiler, your standard backup camera, another RS badge, and then the quad tip active dual exhaust. So that about wraps up taking a look at the new designs with this new car. I really like the new taillight design. I wasn't the biggest fan of the previous generation. I like that you can actually grab your hand in here. They're very 3-dimensional. They just give it a really clean look. Side profile is pretty much the same as last year. Not really too many noticeable differences. And then the front end, as you saw, is a lot different. I think you really have to see this in person before making a judgment. When I first saw it in pictures and videos, I wasn't the biggest fan. I thought it looked kind of weird, but seeing it in person, even just the normal V6 model, I think it has a really aggressive look. The SS model with the V8 is gonna look a little bit different. I believe this is blacked out, and then the body panel kind of cuts right here. So that's gonna be a little bit more aggressive. But overall exterior looks is really nice. It's got some clean lines to it, just a nice low slung coupe. So then to look at the interior with my hand on the door handle, pressing the button, we unlock it. Now we can check out the interior. And then it's also worth noting this car features a remote starting system like all the General Motors cars are gonna have. This has a black interior with some silver trim all around. Taking a look at the door panel, we have some aggressive lines to it, a leather wrapped armrest with some white stitching, and then your trunk release. And then making our way inside, we have a Camaro badge on the door sill, black cloth seats with the white stitching with some silver trim. They have a nice design to them, really comfortable to sit in so far. Nice bolstering for taking the turns, and then nice lumbar support as well. So now inside the car with my foot on the brake, we can go ahead and start it up. We have the speedometer on the right side, and then your fuel and temperature on the top, and then your tach on the left side. The steering wheel looks really nice in front of me. I really like the dark silver trim around the Camaro name. We have the same trim around all the buttons. We have all your cruise control settings on the left side, and then all your Bluetooth and audio controls on the right side. You can also use these to scroll throughout the different menus. You can scroll through and see different information, transmission fluid temperature, G-force meter, performance timer, different pressures and more temperatures. And then we'll leave it with a speedometer in the center. This car also has steering wheel mounted paddle shifters, which have a really nice feel to them. Over on the left side, we have one of the air vents, and twisting the center, we can open and close it. And then moving to the top of the dash has an aggressive look to it up top. Very clean look as we come to the passenger side. We have a nice piece of leather going along this whole side with some white stitching. And then we get the touchscreen display system. We can go home and check different settings. We have Android Auto, all your OnStar devices. And then you can go over to your radio, phone, all that kind of stuff. We can go into the settings, change a whole bunch of things. And then when we put the car into reverse, the backup camera pops up. And I will say the screen is really HD. That is just like you would see on an HD TV. And then you can turn the guidelines on and off. And then we have more buttons down below for the screen, and then all your climate control is down here. We can turn it on, and really cool to change the temperature, you just turn the entire dial right here, and it even shows up on a little screen showing the new temperature. And then over on the right side, twisting this one, is your fan speed. You can see the small LCD screen going up as well. So very cool that they integrate that type of changes into the actual vents. Just gives it a really clean look. We have the different modes, the defrost, AC, and then the recirc. And then coming down here, we have your shifter, leather boot on it with more white stitching. Very easy, obviously, to put it into each gear. Down into drive, we can put it over into manual mode, and then of course shift with the paddle shifters. And then down here, we have your traction control on and off button, and then your mode selection going up and down. It comes up on the screen. In sport mode, that's where we heard the louder exhaust. And then going up into touring mode or snow and ice mode, that's when the quieter exhaust was. And then below that, we have your electronic parking brake, a 12-volt outlet, 2 cup holders, and then pressing a button up here, we get the center console opening up. Pretty good amount of space in there. You could fit a few wallets and maybe an extra cell phone. And then over on the right side, of course, your glove box, normal size for everything you'll need in there. And then up top, we have your frameless mirror, which is a nice touch, and then your 2 dome lights. And then to finish it up, we'll take a look at the rear seats. And for better access to the rear seats, we can pull this handle up to get it out of the way, and then I'll go ahead and slide it forward and see what the rear seats are like. Grabbing this handle, I can pull them right down, and it gets your way to the trunk. And then to go ahead and take a look at the trunk, of course, we can hit the button on the door panel, or just double tap the button on the key fob. Opens right up. You can get a good look all the way in there, and then with the seats up, you can get an idea of how much space you'll have. So now here comes the fun part. I'm going to go ahead and hop inside into the back seat of this car. Obviously, these things are not exactly meant to have people in the back all the time. But once I'm in here, the seat is actually not that bad, and the headroom isn't too bad. My head does hit the top, so of course you're going to sit back here a little crooked. But if you do need it in a pinch, people to be back here, it's not bad. You can definitely fit 2 people in here. There is plenty of leg room. Putting the driver's seat up now. My knees actually have a lot of space. It's pretty comfortable for my feet. Only downside really is headroom, which is what you're going to get with pretty much every coupe in this segment. But overall, not too bad. We do have a little bit of storage right here, and then you have an armrest on each side. And then we can get one last look at the interior, just how the dash looks and everything. So setting off now in the new Camaro, I have it just in the normal touring mode and in automatic just to kind of get my bearings with the car. First thing, the visibility and the view out. Like I said, when we were just looking at the dash, it is really aggressive. I like how it feels. It just feels like something special. It doesn't feel like just a normal coupe. I love how the upper dash, you have these cool mountains above each gauge, and then you can see right to the hood and see one of those lines right above you. It's just really cool looking to see out of. Mirrors do a really good job. The overall visibility is pretty good. And looking over your right shoulder, while that C-pillar is pretty big, I would say this probably doesn't have as good visibility as its competitors. I don't think it's bad. You can see out fine. I can see cars. I don't think it's actually bad. But overall view out is really cool looking. So we'll go ahead and put it over into manual mode just to have a little bit more control over the transmission. Quick downshift right there to 4th. 3rd gear, we'll do a small acceleration in the comfort mode still. So it has a little bit of power. I mean, it gets up and goes. I wouldn't say it's sluggish at all. It seems pretty adequate. We'll go ahead and see what differences we notice. Now down into sport mode. Do the same downshift into 3rd gear. Exhaust has a nice beefy tone to it. I think they did a really good job being the V6. And then doing an aggressive downshift, and then we'll go to 2nd. So then in first gear, we'll do an acceleration. It's got a nice sound to it. The paddles are pretty responsive too. There is a delay between from when you hit the paddle and then it actually shifts, but not bad for your normal automatic car. I like the paddle feel. It does a little rev match when I downshift. And then real quick, to get more of an idea of the comfort of this, we'll put it back into touring mode and automatic, just kind of cruising again. The suspension is nice and soft. It absorbs the bumps very nicely. It's pretty quiet in here. There's really no tire noise or wind noise. I mean, as you guys can probably hear, there's really nothing going on outside. It's pretty isolated, not so isolated to where you can't hear what's going on, but it's a comfortable, smooth ride. The seats are really nice. I really like the way they feel. They have a nice cushion feel to them, and I'm sitting in them nicely. The bolsters do a really good job, but it's a comfortable car for being a sports car like it is. And now put it back into manual and sport mode. We'll see what it's like taking some turns. I love the steering wheel, the way that just feels. The leather is nice. I like the flat bottom design to it. So I will downshift a little bit, take some quick turns. I can hear the exhaust around 3,000 RPM. Yeah, I hear like a valve open right there. But the steering is really tight. Small input in the wheel and the car's doing what I want. Pretty much no body roll. Handles really good, and last year I drove a 2016 SS and I was really impressed with the handling characteristics. It's not just your typical muscle car to where it's just kind of a straight line car and doesn't do well in the turns, but this thing in the turns is really planted. I really like the steering. That is pretty impressive. And then this car just has the standard brakes on it. I believe Brembos are an option for the SS. These things do a great job. This car doesn't have too much weight to it. It's really not like a heavy car out there. Good weight to it, so the brakes, yeah, they stop it just like you would expect. And then to talk about the interior, how it is to use, I like how it's very minimalistic. I like how a lot of new cars nowadays, they're not putting a million buttons everywhere to make it just confusing to use. The air conditioning, super simple to use. The two large dials where the actual vent is to change the temperature and the fan speed. And then there's only like 7 buttons total. So it's just really simple to use. The steering wheel, easy to use, like I said. But I like how it's laid out. I think it's a really cool look to it. The materials feel really nice. This is not a fully loaded car at all. Pretty typical price, you know, mid $30,000, nothing too crazy, and it's very well equipped. You can have navigation on it, your phone will sync right to it and do everything like that, backup camera. So overall, for not a fully loaded car, I think they did a really good job. But then back to the fun stuff. Third gear, just going over a nice sharp turn. So that gets up to 60 pretty quickly, and some quicker turns with it. You know, it's a fun to drive sports car. Like I said, this isn't a crazy, fully loaded, spec'd out car for all the money. It's a pretty affordable, average price car, and yet it's fun to drive. You have some practicality. The rear seats are actually usable. The trunk space is pretty nice. But for just going on a cruise on some country roads or something, it's nice to drive. And then now we're on a straightaway, toning everything back down to the normal comfort modes and everything like that. I mean, it's a car that you can just drive like your typical daily driver. This is what the Camaro is meant to be. It's meant to be a good daily that you can do everything with, but then turn it into your fun to drive sports car. Whether it's the 4-cylinder, the 6-cylinder, or the 8-cylinder, you can really pick out the Camaro that's going to work for you. So I think that about sums up taking a look at the 2019 Camaro. Overall, I think the looks are really cool. They did a really good job just giving it an aggressive, unique look to it. In pictures, I wasn't the biggest fan when I first saw it. I know there's a lot of controversy over this new design. Some people really don't like it, but I think it's one of those cars, once you see it in person, it makes some sense to you. I think it looks really cool. And then the interior, I like the overall layout. The fit and finish too is really nice. It's comfortable to drive. There's no wind noise, there's no road noise. I'm impressed that it's actually that insulated for an average price car like this. And overall, it's got a lot to offer. I would definitely recommend taking a look at one if you're looking for a car like this. But yeah, that is the new Camaro, the 2019. Comment below, what do you guys think of the new design, how these things are as a sports car, as a daily driver sports car? What do you guys think of the new Camaro? Massive thank you once again to Randy Marion Chevrolet for providing this car for today's video. They are getting a lot of the 2019s in right now, ready to go for the new year, so definitely a big thank you to them. So that wraps up the new Camaro. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a huge thumbs up, smash the subscribe button. We'll see you guys next video.